Hi, my name is Allison, and I'm from the Cultural Classroom, and I just want to take you behind the scenes of Ireland and Spain. Happy St. Patrick's Day, linking two cultures. This is such a fun resource because it bridges two cultures together that otherwise wouldn't be bridged together. So let's flip through this resource and see what we've got. First, you've got your title slide, and then you've got a paradox slide. Have you ever heard of a connection between Spanish and Irish cultures? Yes or no? And so this is a multiple choice slide. And then you have an instruction slide. Read the following slide. What might have happened in her distant past to give her these results? And so this is based off of a true story. I did a DNA test, and I was like really into the whole DNA test world, Ancestry.com, 23andMe, all of these things. So I was constantly reading message boards, and I came across a message board that was very similar to this one. And so basically it's very similar. Hi, my name is Marie. Everyone in my family is 100% Irish. I took a DNA test, and the test says that I'm 15% Iberian from Spain, Portugal. Why is that? And so, the original one was on like 23andMe, and the original contributor was an official contributor from 23andMe, and they explained that there was migration patterns from Spain to Ireland, and that depending on when the snapshot of the DNA was, the DNA might reflect Iberian blood instead of Irish. And so I always thought that was so fascinating, and I wanted to explore deeper the relationship between Spain and Ireland. And so stories like Marie's are more common than you would think. I started doing a deep dive on, Irish people who popped up with Iberian DNA, and it's definitely more common than you would think. And it's all due to history. There's a link between Ireland and Spain, and in fact, Spaniards are the closest genetic relatives to the Irish. So then I ask students, how do they feel about that statement? And depending on your population, they might feel a certain way about that. If your students are mostly Irish, they might feel definitely inquisitive or shocked, or a certain way. If your students are Latino, they might feel shocked about that. So it might, your students might really be curious about this relationship. So how and why did this come about? Do you have any guesses on how or why Spaniards and Irish people are related? And then students can respond. So let's take a look at history. And mind you, I'm going super duper fast. You can luxuriate on this presentation way more than I am right now. I am speeding through it so that you can get a look at basically what you're getting. And so, basically what I talk about here are the remains of a 5,000 plus year old farmer that were found in Ireland that suggest that they were genetically related to Spain. And that, again, that the closest relatives to the Irish are the Spanish, particularly of the Basque region. And one hypothesis is that after the end of the last ice age, which was about 10,000 years ago, Spain was kind of like the place to be, during the ice age. Supposedly, according to this article that I read in the New York Times. It was a place to be. It was where like plants and animals and people, stayed, because it wasn't under ice. And so as the ice retreated, people kind of like traveled up by sea to populate territories. And one of the territories that they populated was Ireland. The Book of Invasions. So the Book of Invasions is kind of like the first book ever written. Well, one of the first books written in Irish. And it's really important in Irish culture. It's one of the oldest texts, and it was intended to tell a history of Ireland. And honestly, it was accepted as conventional history up until the 19th century. And so, this book is important because one of the stories, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, I might mispronounce it, the sons of Mill, were believed to be the final race to settle Ireland, and they were from Spain. So this is part of like folklore history, and honestly, it was part of history, up until, kind of like the 19th century when they started poking around and, doing science-y things and realizing that maybe some of this stuff might not be true. And so, academics think, and you can ask your students like, oh, do you think that this is true or false? But later on, like in the presentation, we say like academics mostly agree that the legend is false. However, you can't deny that despite the legend being false, there's like a crazy DNA connection between Ireland and Spain. Like 89% of northern Spain share a genetic marker with Irish people in Western Ireland. And so that means that they all have had one common male ancestor, which creepily sounds like that story that we just investigated. And so then we also talk about the Celts. And even though, everybody thinks about the Celts first, like Celtic groups, when they think of Ireland, the stronger connection is the DNA. The Celtic groups is like a cultural connection. And even in the architecture and different things like that, there's connections between northern Spain and Ireland. So let's go back to Marie. Ask students to basically summarize the presentation. How could Marie have Iberian genetics in her DNA, even though she's always believed herself to be 100% Irish? We have some closing, we have some Pear Deck slides, and then we have our Feliz Dia de San Patricio. And so that's it. That is me running through the presentation like my life depended on it. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks. Bye.